All right, so it's now 18 minutes past 9 a.m. and we are saying welcome to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You know, as we always do it every weekday, we congregate here where we get to bring you different issues in the country, the way they are reported in various newspapers, and then draw our conversations from these very topical issues. My name is Franklin Ebuka, and this very morning I'm not alone. Olisa Mbeki is with me in the studio, and together we are going to start off this very conversation. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, Franklin, and good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Anambra State. Good morning in the southeast. Good morning in Onitsha. Wherever you are listening to us from, it's always a pleasure to be here. We are back in our sanctuary to do what we know how best to do, to pontificate the truth, to take a look at every side of any story and then let you know how it went and what really transpired and the history and stories behind the scene. You're welcome once again.
All right, so is it Thursday edition of this very program, this 21st of August 2025, and like we do tell you all the time that we are always live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Just get to that very page and then follow the video, and at the same time don't forget to like the page and share the story. You can also go to our YouTube channel and on Instagram, Udala Radio, and get involved in this very conversation. On X, we are also Udala Radio, and I ask you to stay with us. We'll be right back.
Attention! The views, opinions, and conclusions expressed on this show do not represent the views, positions, and policies of the management and ownership of Udala Radio. Content shared is for information, education, and entertainment purposes only, as we always encourage voices on our platform to maintain professionalism and non-partisanship. You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Alright, so once more, thank you for staying tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM, and this is the Polity, where we bring you topical issues in the country. Chisom Chinedu, good morning.
Good morning, Franklin. How are you doing today?
Fantastic.
I'm doing good too. I know you didn't ask, but I have to tell you, I am doing good. Sorry for joining late. I had a slight delay because of the traffic on Oka Road. Nothing very serious, so I'm here now.
Okay, so we are going to look at the headlines on four newspapers: The Nation, Punch, Vanguard, and the Guardian newspapers. And we'll begin with the headlines we have on the Guardian. The very first headline we have here says, Rota scheme stalls after delivering 2.6 trillion naira project. The story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And then you can go to other headlines. The headlines below the nameplate. The first one here says, opposition parties reject proposed pay rise for political office holders' aides. The story is on page 3. 15% of teen girls are pregnant mothers. Minister laments. The story is on page 2. 7,000 Nigerians stranded in Libya need reviews. You can see the story on page 3. And keep on wondering why Nigerians keep on going to Libya, despite the fact that it's been documented that they do face serious challenges in that very country. And if somebody is to answer you, he might say, because it's for greener pastures. But the question has been, are the pastures greener?
Really green
over there
at all? Then
another story here says, Ticket 9 unmanned booth. Presidency downplays outrage as Tinubu demands UN reform. The story is on page 6. Senegal ends the Tigers Afro basket dream. The story is on page 2, and somebody said it was a revenge for the male basketball team of Senegal. They took a revenge on Nigeria because our female basketball team, defeated Senegal to win the Afro basket. So now we have to settle for maybe fight for third place. That's what it means. Manufacturers, our raw material stock at airport for weeks. loss is anticipated. The story is on page 28. A study shows 4.3 million premature deaths yearly from unclean cooking fuel. The story is on page 4. I think this very event happened in Lagos, where they talked about how cooking with firewoods, affects one's cognitive ability, that it can lead to decline of one's cognitive ability. And they are saying people have to migrate to the use of a cleaner energy. And the question has been, do we have access to that cleaner energy? If we do have access, how affordable is it? Because someone who is in the village who tries to see how he can make ends meet, and you're telling him to migrate to the use of a cleaner energy like cooking gas, can he afford it? Was it not 2 years ago that with 2,500 he can fill 6 kg of cooking gas? But now if you want to fill that 6 kg, you should be looking for about 6,000 plus. And this is our reality. Then another story says, Oyo government sets Ladoja's coronation for September 26. The story is on page 5. And they can check other headlines inside the front, or inside the pages of a Guardian newspaper. So we have to go over to the next paper.
Right then, from the Guardian, we proceed to the Vanguard. Banner headline here: anger over planned pay rise for political office holders. On page 5, the riders salary hike for politicians provocative, says ACF spokesman. Suspend increment for now, ATC tells FG. It is wicked, selfish, Northern Khan. Timing wrong, says ex-Nasima boss, Dele Oye. Proposal insensitive to suffering of Nigerians. The PDP, the NNPP, and Okorie have that perspective to give. It is misplacement of priority. The CUPP is on that one. FG raises GDP target to 5% ahead of IMF projection. On page 19, assault on NYSC member. Saludo sacks vigilante operatives. On page 7, after the sack, what happens? Not just Anambrarians, but it's especially women in Anambra are calling for stricter measures. They need to be punished accordingly for an act like that. It is one thing for security officials to brutalize fellow citizens, and it's an extra slap on our faces when women are the victims. I say that with all sense of responsibility. Katsina massacre, death toll rises to 50. On page 6, NCC to governors waive or reduce 145 naira roll fees. On page 48. Reps summon 11 discos over 2.6 trillion naira debt owed of G. On page 8, 2027, Tinubu's re-election done deal, says Tunji Ojo. On page 8. Nigeria campaigns for UN Security Council seat at TICAD. Find that story on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper.
Okay, so let's look at the headlines we have on the Punch newspaper. The banner headline says 2027 showdown. Wike Makinde rift threatens high stakes PDP convention. The story is on page 2. It has a rider. PDP vows tough action as Wike associates move against convention. NEC members kick. The story is on page 2. Castina mosque terror attack. Death toll hits 32. It's on page 42 of the Punch newspaper. If you check Vanguard is reporting about 52. Recapitalization, banks to gain extra 900 billion naira capital in 2025. It's on page 31. PFAs channel 62% of workers' pensions into government bonds. See page 29 of the Punch newspaper. Beside the nameplate, Royu Rao, Alaafin may publish Supreme Court ruling after 48-hour ultimatum. The story is on page 48. I think I talked about this yesterday, where there is rivalry between Alaafin for Yon and the Oni. The contest is who has the power to, to confer certain titles on certain persons, and in this very case, they're talking about titles that cut across the entire Yoruba land, and they've been threatening themselves over this very development. Then let's get to the other story here. TICAD, or rather TICAD 9, Japanese Prime Minister pledges $5.5 billion support for Nigeria. Others, Olubado coronation for September 26 as Makinde visit Ladoja is on page 16. 179 ASPs disqualified as police promote 952 officers is on page 10. NBA report, Adeleke demands FG unblock Oshun's allocation, is on page 10 of the Punch newspaper.
All right, then from there we'll proceed to the next paper on our desk this morning, and that will be the Nation newspaper. Banner headline here: Nigeria projects $1 billion in trade investment from Japan summit. Find that story on page 2. All right, above that, 11 discos owing Federation account 2.6 trillion naira. On page 3, Rotimi Pedro is NTADJ on page DG rather on page 4. Edun, federal government attracting foreign investments. Find this story on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Tinubu vows to tackle underlying causes of terror on page 2 as well. 13 million social media accounts shut down. NITSDA did put out a statement yesterday noting that they have committed a lot of infractions, and for that reason, across different platforms, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, accounts that are not doing the right thing are being clamped down on. I think it's also going to go a long way to address the social media madness. Franklin, did you come across this couple that have been doing their content almost naked on briefs? Do you know the couple I am talking about?
Well, I can't remember their name now, but you know.
But you know the people I'm talking about.
The quest to earn from Facebook monetization. You know, it has sent some people into behaving as if they have no conscience or have no, they don't have any mindset, and that's why somebody will tell you that if you have a friend or a relation
who's not disgracing
your
social
media, of course, they thank your stars.
I tell you. So we are moving on now, hoping that people also learn from this and it reduces the madness on the social media space. Why I donated 540 seats auditorium to LASU, Tunji Bello has that to say. Death toll in Katsina mosque attack now 32 on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. 3 dead cops on promotion list. Find that on page 4. Ladoja's coronation as 44th Olubado fixed for September 26 on page 5. Repair of Rivers Assembly complex nears completion on page 3. No rift with Oni, says Alafi on page 5. Court convicts 8 more internet fraud suspects arrested at OBJ library on page 6. Akonde extols Buhari's virtues on page 4 of the Nation newspaper.
All right, so interesting headlines on this very newspaper. So, of course, we have to switch to bringing the topical issues we want to look at this very morning on this very platform. So we ask you to stay with us as we switch gears.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so thank you for staying tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM, and this is the Polity. My name is Franklin Ebuka, and we have to begin today's conversation by beginning from home. And home, in this very sense, is about what happened on the floor of Anambra State House Assembly 2 days ago, where a certain lawmaker, talking about the lawmaker representing Ayamelon constituency, Bernard Udemezwe, he was summoned to appear before the House committee to answer questions regarding his activities on social media. They are saying that he went on social media to allege that his constituency was marginalized in constituency allowance. And during that very Tuesday plenary, the House described his post as damaging content and a threat to the image and safety of members. Don't forget that this very lawmaker, talking about Demezu, he was elected on the platform of the PDP or in that very House. And he has been sharing posts regarding how his constituency, Ayamilo's constituency, was sidelined in the sharing of constituency allowance And the House said he have to come to explain what he had been doing, because he had been doing something malicious that is damaging to the image of the House. But before this summon came up, of course, we were privy to certain conversations he had had on a social media platform, on a WhatsApp platform, where he was even boasting that he has become so rich that he is richer than most of his peers, and he went ahead to post his account balance on that platform. So when the someone came, we were not thinking, was he someone because of what he did on a WhatsApp group, or because of the allegation he made that his constituency is being marginalized, Tony?
I saw the video, and the video I saw was talking about being richer, that how many people could have such kind of money. He was able to call some persons that may have 10 million or 20 million in their private accounts, that others do not have those things. First, when I saw the video, the first question I raised was, is this video authentic? Because in that very video, you'll be hearing the voice. You won't see the person making the statement. Anybody can voice out anything, but the most important thing is who is making the statement. The video in question does not match the motion picture of the person making that very statement. So for me, first would be to authenticate if actually the video or those voices we heard was actually coming from him, or was it photoshopping, or was it manipulated, or could it be one of the AI generated? That is one. I believe it could be one of the responses expected of him by the time he appears before the House. And I'm also aware that the person in view serves as the chairman of the Pilgrimage, Ethics and Privileges Committee, and I think it has to be one of the 29 standing committees instituted by the Assembly since July 2023. I'm also aware the person involved, yes, elected on the platform of PDP, and then he raised another issue. I think one of the reasons why the House said that he's been invited is on the accusations he made about zonal intervention projects. And we've talked about this many times on this very platform, and we have also extrapolated it to what is being done outside where we copied what we copied from. Is a tradition here? Is a culture here? Is the culture sustainable? Is this something we are going to continue with? But that's by the way. There will be a day when we talk about that very one. But what we are facing today has to do with the accusations made that this constituency, Ayamelum, and Ayamelum is one of the 30 constituencies, state constituencies in Anambra State, and he said that his constituency was sidelined when it comes to that. But I'm aware that issues that have to do with this issue of constituency, I don't know what I call it, project or allowance, I don't know. But in any case, if I'm to focus on project, these things are something appropriated for, it should be in the budget. But if it is not right in the budget and is being done elsewhere, that's another concern. It means that there are things that we are not being told. And I know that general public, good number of them were really somehow excited with the revelations made by this person. Most of these institutions, remember the way they work in such a way that one may not even know what is going on. And it's always what they tell you that is going on, that is going on. But with this revelation made by the member representing Ayamelum State constituency, one, we must also establish if he owns, or if he comes out to say, yes, I own these statements. That is one. And secondly, if he owns these statements, he should tell us more. The public wants to know more. Even when we know that the House wants to treat it in their own way, based on their disciplinary committee system and the way they handle such issues. But the public, I believe, is yearning for more. They are yearning for more. So what are those things that the public would also want to know? We have freedom of information, no doubt. Nigerians are becoming conscious about different political developments, and they would want to know more. The idea of knowing more is to help maintain the accountability ratio or accountability measure, because we want to hold our leaders accountable. But the way he may have gone about this, I know many will argue, is not the best way. That if you have these issues, did you table it before the appropriate committee or before the assembly? Why choosing Facebook to table it? But the public will not care about the rules and regulations of the house, which he's also a member, which I believe he is also subject to. You know, one thing about Nigerians is that they want to know that thing that they don't know, or that thing that has not been said. So in every case, yes, he has been summoned, and then he's expected to make more clarification about those statements, if truly credited to him or not. So the truth remains that the videos are flying everywhere. They are flying everywhere.
Some persons are saying that it seems as if he's being gagged. They made reference to what happened to Henry Nigerian Bachu, when he was opposing certain actions of the house, and he was removed from the house's WhatsApp group, and he was ostracized. And they're saying that the same thing is happening to this very man. So does it mean that the house leadership wants to stop people from laying complaints when they feel that things are not going the right way it's supposed to go in the house?
Well, for starters, going by what you just said, Franklin, I'll be asking Tony, have proper investigations been carried out? Maybe proof. If this man says that he is not, his constituency is not being treated fairly, this and this are things we have done. This and these are things that have been done equally across all constituencies. I think summons are a one-sided thing. The house owes answers, not to Isienyi, that's what we know him as, but to the entire people of Ayamelum that he represents. If he is raising the motion that we are not being treated fairly, then we need answers, not just him being summoned to prove what he has said or not. We need the management of the house to come forth with proof, so we know who is exactly cheating us out on what we are supposed to be getting.
And another thing I also want to add, because if he is representing the constituency, so he's entitled to speak up for the constituency, especially when the constituency is not well treated. But the place to make such statements also becomes paramount. Because I'm aware that the house does its business at the chamber. They have a legislative chamber. Yes, he has gone to Facebook to raise these concerns, and they raise it in a casual manner. Not that he called a press conference, or he invited media, or he called on them and then raised these issues for media to take it up. But he was making that concern in a casual manner, as if a man is talking with another fellow man, Pierre Palo talk like. But that is by the way. Now the issue is, if he had raised this at the house, I don't know if he had done that, but it's another thing. In that very statement he made, he didn't say that he had done that in the house. But I would also feel that where that issue, yes, social media has its own traction, and then it's also eliciting concern. People are beginning to talk, fine and good. He also should understand the modus operandi of the house. That the house, once you come up with a motion, because in the one on Facebook, I don't know if it comes in the form of motion. I don't know if motion can be moved on Facebook or social media, where a bill can also be sponsored on social media. But on the side of the citizenry, they are happy that these revelations are coming because they want to know. And if you look around, many are applauding him. There are some that are saying he shouldn't make this statement. That is one. On the other side, this statement would also be more potent, facing the speaker, facing other honorable members, and tell them, my very constituency, Ayamelum, is being marginalized in terms of projects, in terms of, and one would also ask, when during budget preparation, was he absent? Because it's also important that you make sure that some projects are put for your constituency. And if you look at the towns that make up that very Ayamelum, you have towns like Anako, Omo, Ibaku, Umeje Omase, Umumbo, Umerum, if you talk about it, where you come from. So it's important to know that this area is it's an agrarian area, what has been his effort to ensure road infrastructures are brought in that area during appropriation, because during appropriations some of these members ensure that projects are inserted. If these projects are inserted but they have not been done, it's another thing he needs to clarify. Yes, during budget preparation I did so much to ensure that these projects are inserted for my area, but from the look of things it has not been done. So he needs to clarify more on this.
All right,
he needs to clarify more.
Now that second leg of where it was said that on a WhatsApp platform, you know, there was this very boast of who is richer and who is not richer, and then he went ahead to post his account balance with details of his account on that platform. Does that speak good of a lawmaker?
That's childish for me. You are there to represent the people, and in representing the people, you have a lot of roles. You have bills to sponsor, you have motions to also sponsor the way that will bring good government to your people. You have an oversight function to do, which I have stated a committee where he's heading. You also have a number of roles oversighting on a number of agencies, government, and ensure that there is accountability, probity. These are major roles. It's not where you go and boast of who has more money and who doesn't have more money. It's not where you go and post your bank detail and say that you have this or you have that nobody in the house. Remember, I have put a caveat. Has he owned up to that voice? I don't know. But we are assuming that the voice belongs to him based on evidence we have around us. Yes, he has every right to say, no, the voice does not belong to me, and he has to support that with also another evidence. But having noted that, it's also important to let him understand that this place is not a beer parlor place where you talk about who is richer, who is not richer, saying that out of the entire members there, that nobody has up to 10 million in his account. In fact, it was that voice. Let me still keep referring to the voice. The voice was quick to say that apart from a particular OG this person, these are people that were made before coming to the house. Outside these 2 or 3 or 4 persons, no other person there has up to 10 million in his account. And then you went further, the voice again went further to publish a bank account, a bank statement to show that he has money. For me, these things are childish.
All right.
These things are
so away from what transpired between this very man and the members of Anambra State House of Assembly, let me even say this now, because my very first time of going to Mumbo, I told myself that if you want to become serious in this eastern part of Nigeria, you see, I am alone.
Yeah,
I am alone can feed us.
Definitely, they are the food basket of the state.
They
No
can feed
doubt.
us. If we want to become serious, arable lands that are scattered there that are not harnessed, we can put them to good use. Now, Chisom, let's really address it before we now go into other political matters. Yesterday we talked about the core member who was assaulted by 8 members of or should I call them now former members of Agone Chamber, because it was, we know the kind of outrage that it was elicited. And yesterday we found out that 8 of them have been dismissed and they have been handed over to the Nigerian Police Force for prosecution. Now, I went to follow some of the reactions that people have been dropping, and some of them are saying, yes, we have seen their faces, we do not know their names, we also need to know their names. Some other person has even saying, yes, government has done the honorable thing, but we want the man in charge to leave. Then some other persons are also saying that beyond what we have done so far, we want more action. We want to see compensation, we want to see apology, and we want to see this, that. Do you think we are inching close to justice in that very case?
It depends on your definition of justice, especially where Nigeria is concerned. Now, for starters, it is one thing for us to be told that they've been punished and all of that. We need to be kept updated at every step. When are they going to be arraigned? The people asking for their names, I mean, it's well, they are well in their rights to be asking for the names of these people. You know, when you first mentioned that, I recall when I saw those things yesterday, I said to myself, maybe it's about time we should start having registers. I think it was Lagos State that came up with a sex offenders register that would be displayed for everyone to see.
Anambra has it. It's being coordinated by NAPTIP. Anambra has it. Lagos has it. In fact, if you log on to the site from any part of the country, you'll be able to access and see the names
Maybe we
people
should.
who have been convicted.
We also need a register of security officials who, instead of becoming protectors, have become the predators. We need a register of these offenders, these civil rights offenders, because that's what they have become. And like I said earlier, we are hoping that we are kept updated every step of the way when they are going to be arraigned, the sentences they are getting, and of course compensation. Yes, the girl needs to be compensated for all of that. But I also think that this is a time for us to start having conversations about this idea of slut shaming women and doing everything, as a matter of fact, doing everything possible to make them slutty, for the want of a better word. You have a disagreement with most men. I mean, not okay, for the want of a better word, most people in that particular circle. I mean, those vigilante men as a woman, one of the first things they will do is to call you a slut. And I mean, I'm not. I am not lying. With a conductor, first thing you are called is a slut. The first thing, as a matter, I think they think that this is the worst thing that can happen to a woman, being slut shamed. I think it's about time we start with a reorientation. This is probably one of the reasons why those people, the mentality they have, the worst thing that can happen is show her nakedness. This is the worst we can do to her. Why are we even pushed to doing the worst to people we are supposed to be protecting? It's about time that we start to deeply think about these things. If it is a society value orientation that we need, we should start working on it. No one is above having a reshaping of the person's mindset.
Okay, so yesterday when we talked about this, I made reference to the story which was told by the SPAD, so the government of Anambra State, on community security, talking about Mr. Kinamaka, where he talked about how these very operatives were going after suspected courties. They ran into some houses, they went after them, and there was this very altercation. I said there was a missing point in the story told. We want to told how that thing happened. Now, there is a third party who has come into this very development, talking about a lawyer by name, Cyrus Ono, who happens to be the lawyer to the Female National Youth Service Corps member, Jennifer Lobo. Now, I just want to say or repeat what he claimed that happened that led to that incident. He said that the security people were banging the door, and Jennifer was trying to open the door, and they just kicked the door, and it almost hit their face. Most of them were masked in mufti with guns, so you can imagine how scared the kids, talking about corps members, were. He went on to say that the security agents didn't give any identification. They just said, calm down, you all are thieves, you are all Yahoo people. When they tried to drag them downstairs, Jennifer was insisting that if they must take them anywhere, they should allow them, the corps members, to call their LGI, because the corps members did not know who the operatives were. The lawyer was the one who was saying so yesterday. Now, he went on to say that was when they started pouncing on her. They made derogatory comments asking her who gave her the right as a lady to speak to them anyhow. They began beating her. She asked them to allow her to change into something appropriate, and they said no. That thing you are trying to cover, we will see today. We will beat you up, we will rape you, kill you, and dump you, and nobody can say anything. So talking about justice now, because the deed has been done. And yesterday when Kinamaka was talking, he said that in as much as NYC and the affected member said, let's sheath the sword, let the sleeping dog lie, that they want to take on the case and ensure that it gets to a logical conclusion, and that what happened is going to be a turning point when it comes to discipline of these very Agony Chamber boys, or call them Agony Chamber men. So Tony, we're talking about justice. What we can see and say, justice has been done, and government has been able to rein on the terror which is being perpetrated by these bad eggs in the system.
I think, just like you pointed out earlier on, like what you say that the lawyer actually came up with as what transpired, many of us did not even see or know this aspect or this side. All we saw was a video, and then even the person that released the video blurred the image, and we must also appreciate the person for blurring the image of that young girl. And like, before I come to the issue of justice, for me, the savagery unleashed by the vigilantes, operators, these people that we actually undressed yesterday against this NYC member Top Guy is a foul reminder that not just in Nigeria, in places, those entrusted with security often becomes the greatest violators of human dignity. It was not just an incident, it was a shameless orgy of violence, in fact, a crude exhibition of raw thuggery in uniform to pounce on innocent corps member who left the comfort of their homes to serve the nation. Is not just cowardly, it is an abomination. We have seen this script before. It was SARS who were meant to protect citizens, but instead turned into vampires, feeding on the blood of the youth until Nigerians rose in the hashtag #SARS protest. In fact, it was a Motakun in parts of the southwest accused of flogging, extorting, and even killing in the name of keeping order. And it was the countless vigilantes in rural Nigeria who, armed with guns and crude authority, forget they are meant to protect, not torment. If you ask me, this savage assault was a reckless display of crude thuggery masquerading as community security. So, and I know women are really concerned, and we just had the incident of the lady who boarded Ibom Air. In fact, there should be a law. I know that if you want to prosecute or look for justice, this thing will be all put together in issue of assault. This assault is grade 1 assault, so we have to carve it out from the general name assault, where people are naked. We must fight the state assembly. They should try to see where they can make certain amendments to earmark, and also I mark this kind of barbarism, because for me that is what it is. And if you look at these men, yesterday we are told and we saw video where they were undressed, where they were handed over to the police for prosecution. It doesn't end at that. 8 of them, and at a point their faces, I saw their faces before they were back in the building, the Agnes Chamber headquarters, and at the point they were facing the press, where the special advisor to the governor on community security said that they are not hiding anything, that they want to show the public that nothing is hidden, and also say that these people are being taken to police, because police in this case has prosecutorial power. And Nigerians, I know many people would want to know we want to know the charges. We want to follow the case. And many people are interested. They want to know the procedure. In fact, we also enjoy journalists, the media, to follow up this case. We want to know how this will pan out. Let it not be as, business as usual, where things like this are done. At the end of the day, we forget. One thing about us is that we forget a lot. Once we have this euphoria, we forget a lot. Look at these people. Look at what you reeled at. And I'm confident that this thing you reeled at, based on what the lawyer said happened, really happened. Why must we show brutality? Our law enforcement agents, the average law enforcement agent in Nigeria, there is this thing in them that always carry out this brutality. They see people they protect as ants, slaves, because it's only a slave you will unleash this. I remember during the transatlantic slave trade in this part of the world, that's exactly what the captors were doing to the slaves they have come to capture. That's what they were doing to them. You all of a sudden you patch into somebody's apartment, start shouting at the person, telling the person that you are this, you are that, you are this, you are that, this and that thing you are trying to protect.
And even denying her right to decency, saying that she's on her nightwear. At least let me.
This is animalistic behavior. This is pure bestiality. Honest, I don't know how to qualify this.
All right.
And then it's also important to know that the wife of the governor has also contacted the lady to show support. It's also not worthy. But since this didn't happen, the young girl has gone back to her state. Youth corps members should be protected. I was once a copper. They should be protected. This rascality around them must stop. It must stop.
All right, so let's switch gears now. Let's go to the federal level where we know, our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, of course, he's in Japan, where he's attending Tokyo International Conference on African Development, the one that we know as TICAD 9. Of course, he left the country some days ago, and he has started to attend the event there. But something happened yesterday, which got the presidency to react. Somebody was at that very event, and the person met Nigeria's exhibition booth, very empty, nobody was there. Normally not how they do these things, where you have your boom booth well labeled, and he didn't see anybody there. So he made a video and posted on X asking questions: why are there no reps from Nigeria in Nigeria's booth? Why would the government of Nigeria, spend so much money to travel there? At the end of the day, nobody's cited. So he raised that very question, and he got the presidency to react to that very video that was posted. Now, if you look at what the presidency did, which I'm going to reference according to how Guardian newspaper reported that very story, I'm going to reference it before we go into what is going to be our subject matter from there. Presidency on Wednesday strongly condemned what he described as the deliberate attempt by mischief makers on social media to misrepresent Nigeria's participation at the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development, TICAD 9 in Yokohama, Japan, through a misleading video of an empty booth labeled Nigeria. And he says, let it be made clear, Nigeria did not attend TICAD 9 to entertain idle critics or provide content for social media blackmailers. Our delegation, led by President Bola Tinubu, is in Japan for the serious business of securing investment, building strategic alliances, and advancing Nigeria's economic transformation, not for gimmicks or photo opportunities at a trade expo. The presidency is the one saying so, and the person who issued that very statement was the special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Bayo Nanoga. And he goes on to say that the peddlers of this destruction, driven either by ignorance or malice, insult the intelligence of Nigerians by suggesting that the measure of our participation is an empty stall rather than the substantive negotiations being held at the highest levels of government and industry. And he said that even the president, ministers that went around, that went with him, that they have been involved in different negotiations to ensure that they get some deals for Nigeria. But what I want us to look at is this TICAD. What is the significance of Nigeria's participation in this? What do we stand to get from it? Because we know that the president didn't just go there. He went on taxpayers' money. And of course, we expect that there should be something reasonable we can get from this. So what is that thing we stand to get from this after this very break?
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Anambra Patriots for Soludo. APGA ndị Anambra gakwanụ ntị unu ekwekwele ka ewere unu wee gbochie ọrụ ọma Chukwu nna Chichas Soludo wee na-arụ na Anambra steeti. Unu makwa na anyụkọ mamịrị ọnụ ọkpụ ụfụfụ. Ngwa bịakọtanụ n'igwe ka anyị kwado nwanne anyị nwoke bụ Chukwuma Charles Soludo. Unu afụghị ihe niile ọ na-eme na mbara dị iche iche site na Anambra North, South to Central. Na-ekwu okporo ụzọ niile nke ọrụgo, na-ekwu ụlọ akwụkwọ nke ọ na-emepe, na-ekwu hospital nke ọrụgo. Unu afụgonu ka ụmụ nwaanyị anyị si wee na-amụ nwa n'udo free of charge. Ụmụ akwụkwọ wee na-agụ akwụkwọ n'efu. Ihe a niile ya na ihe ndị ọzọ ka Chukwuma Charles Soludo na-eme na Anambra steeti. A na-ekwusi maka New Government House nke kwuru okwu ya kemgbe 1991, ya bụ 34 years. Na ya na Soludo arụgharịghị ya. Kedu maka New Solution Fund City? Nwanne m Soludo nọ n'ọrụ. Ndị Anambra ọrụ ọma ama nkwụkwọ agụ bịanụ n'igwe ka anyị kwado nwanne anyị nwoke bụ Chukwuma Charles Soludo. Anambra Patriots for Soludo.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
And And of course, we want you to get involved in this very conversation we're having this very morning on Udala Radio 104.7 FM. You are listening to the Polity. My name is Franklin and Chisom, Olisa Mbeki. All of us are together on this very conversation. Don't forget that we are live on our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Get to that very page, drop your comment, and also share the video. You can quickly dash to our YouTube channel and our Instagram, and also follow this very program live on those platforms. Udala Radio, we are live on this platform to deepen this conversation and as well give you a chance for you to air your view. So Tony, I talked about the ticket 9, what is going on there, and the concern that in Nigerian raised yesterday, but the president had responded saying that Nigerian president and his delegation, they are not there for exhibition per se, rather they are there to secure this for Nigeria. So let's now find out what this very summit the president has embarked on poses for Nigeria.
First and foremost, we must appreciate those who have raised this concern. We must appreciate them for videoing the place, letting us to understand that our booth in that very place is still empty, and then the reaction coming afterwards. That is the beauty of democracy. We must raise concern. And most concerns, and I also want to tell authorities that when concern of this nature is raised, don't say it has been mischievous. There is nothing mischievous about raising such concern. And that is why you are in government. Once such concern is raised, it's left for you to address the concern. And, let the people, the citizens, know the other side of it. And they can query anything. Nigerians have right to query anything government does. Nigerians are the employer of they are the ones that employ the government. The government is there to serve them, not the other way around. So your employer can always query you, especially when he feels that you are not going right or you are not going in the the expected matrix expected. So now you talked about in this issue of TICAD. We know that TICAD stands for the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. That's the meaning of TICAD. Tokyo International Conference on African Development. I'm also aware that this TICAD was launched sometime in 1993 by the Japanese government, and its core mission is to promote inclusive, sustainable development in Africa. It is co-hosted by Japan, the United Nations, the UNDP, the African Union Commission. In fact, since 2000, the World Bank joined them around 2000. As an open multilateral forum, this TICAD brings together African heads of state, bilateral donors, international organizations, the private sector, and civil society, all under the principle of African ownership paired with international partnership. That is what TICAD is for. If you ask how many countries from Africa attended this present TICAD, because I'm aware that this TICAD which started on August 20, that is yesterday, and I'm also aware that it will run till August 22. That is today is 21st, and that will be till tomorrow. This very TICAD is attended by leaders from about 50 African countries and a range of international organizations. So it is held in Yokohama. About 50 African countries, their leaders are there. So according to Bayo Nonuga, he made us to understand that Nigeria's involvement centers around high-level bilateral and multilateral discussions, not trade, exhibition, logistics. Now I want to also ask, if our involvement centers around bilateral and multilateral discussions, why not trade, exhibition related issues? Because we are talking about what we are going to give to the world, especially to Africa. What do we have? It's not about calling people to come and invest in your country. What are you also exporting to them? What are you also giving them? So I don't see if that involvement does not also center around trade. That is a deficit for me. It should also center around trade. We have a growing market in this region. We should dominate the market, and we are not doing that. And there is this very forum where things like this should be talked about. And you're saying that our own involvement centers around multilateral and bilateral discussions. What are these discussions if trade is not also part of it? But I'm also aware, because if you look around, Nigeria or the Nigerian delegation, Mr. President is one leading it. According to what Bayo Ononuga was saying, that our delegation will focus on strategic talks on power, industry, agriculture, and securing development financing. If you look at all these things so stated, you find that trade is involved directly or indirectly. There is none of them that can exclude trade. So that is why I said we must appreciate those who have raised this concern about our boot being empty. And we also understand the analogy given that our boot has not been inaugurated. That's the response given by the government, that our boot has not been inaugurated, that it couldn't have been empty if it had been inaugurated, that once inaugurated it won't be empty. So it's good that the citizens are putting government on their toes, demanding answers, demanding clarifications, and the government, good that they are also responding, but you cannot term it mischievousness. That's where I disagree with government on that. You cannot term it mischievousness.
All right. So if you look at this, from what we gather from government, they say that the Nigerian government is aiming to unlock more than $1 billion in trade and investment by focusing on green innovation, industrial growth, youth empowerment, and then strengthening its position as the West African gateway. Now, there's an area of interest which I just want to point out, because in the area of energy sector, where the Minister of Power, who is also in Japan with Mr. President, he's seeking, or rather he's pursuing Lagos Ogun Power Transmission System Improvement Project, likewise partnership with NAPTIN, which is a National Power Training Institute, and JICA on vocational training, which we know Japan is good on this. And then he's also pursuing $190 million distributed access through renewable energy scale-up initiative and other things. So eventually, of course, discussions are going to open, but what will not be the end product is how do we engage, how do we assure that we come back with something. Now, let's move over to the issue of insecurity we have in the country, because...
sorry, Franklin, before we proceed, speaking about inauguration, and after the inauguration, we're expected to also display something.
Definitely.
But I was wondering, genuinely, what are we going to be displaying? Looking at the state of things in the country, because these displays are supposed to attract people, and looking at the things we need to fix, are we really ready for that?
I think just let's talk about this issue of exhibition. There are things we can exhibit. We have a lot of things we manufacture in this country. We can start from agricultural products. You have cocoa, you have rubber, you have cassava. We can display some of these things.
Exactly what I had in mind.
And you also can talk about manufacturing sector. There are so many things we do in this country. You go to a bar, look at great work being done there. If you come here to somewhere around Dominique, there are so many things we can display. That is one. I'm also aware that there is a meeting bill between the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabo, and the JICA, which will cover on Ogun Power Transmission Improvement, and also vocational training with NAPTIN, and also about $190 million renewable energy scale-up initiative, and also negotiation with Toshiba and Hitachi. Japan has got one of the most thriving industrial hub in the world. It's everywhere. What are we going to leverage? Are we going to see in a way we can allow these companies to have their establishments in Nigeria? You know what it means to have a product like Toyota, Hitachi. There's so many of them, and I've done so. So
the reason I asked my question is this: do we really have what it takes for our own industries to thrive? You mentioned agriculture, and I said that's exactly what I had in mind. Because when you go to an international organization or an international event and start to say, you know what, see what I can do with these things, do you really have it in abundance to do that, especially for export purposes, considering the fact that agriculturally we cannot even feed home properly? So we don't even have enough. So what are we doing to make sure that the agricultural sector is thriving beyond what it is at the moment? You mentioned attracting investments from international organizations like Toshiba and all of that. The question is the economic climate here suitable for them to actually come and invest? Last I checked, the ones here are leaving.
Exactly. Remember, we have insecurity we are dealing with. And some of these countries, like I said yesterday, they have embassies and high commission here. They follow everything. So you don't need to tell them a lot about your country. They know those things. And for any investment they will want to do in your country, they must have advisory from their high commission or their embassy, as the case may be. We have a lot of challenges in this country, there's no doubt, because if you talk about agriculture, yes, you have arable land, you can also do this, you can also do this, you can also call for investment for them to scale it up, to make it to be well expanded. Do you have that business climate that can accommodate some of these things? That business climate, for me, it is not there. It is not there. It's one thing to go out in these places, exhibit this, exhibit that, and talk about this, talk about that. When you talk about business climate, one is your judiciary firm, because anybody who wants to make investment must also have a return on his investment. How do people outside the world perceive your judiciary? It's one of the things they look at. It's one of the things they consider. If you don't have a firm judiciary, a judiciary seems to be independent, they may have problem bringing in money. That is one. And if you don't also have business environment or good business climate, they may not come in. What are the bottlenecks in terms of business? Do we still have these things? These are things we must deal with. Why we are doing what we are doing? Because about 50 African countries are there. We have about 54 countries in Africa. 50 are there already. And we can't just say we won't be there when others are there. But after being there, what are we going to do? Are we going to follow it up by looking inwards to fish out and also ensure that insecurity is brought to minimal level, so that it also projects business climate for these people? They know everything. They know everything. We can tell them, yes, we can do this, we can do that, we can do that. But at the same time, they have to make some feasibility studies to see if any of these things could also come in. Mr. President has visited so many countries, and we've asked this question: how many foreign direct, I'm not talking about foreign direct investment or foreign direct portfolio, how many investments has he attracted, has he brought to the country? Not in the areas of foreign, maybe investing in our stock or investing in, I'm talking about bringing investment down. Many establishments, many corporations are closing up here, moving to Ghana. Have we asked ourselves this question: why are they going to Ghana? Why is Ghana becoming more attractive? We've seen Dunlop, and the other time there was a very big company in Nigeria that had been here for a very long time. They just closed up, and once they close up, they go to Ghana. We've thought about our tax laws, trying to make sure that these things are well streamlined. But how effective are these things? We've got so much work to do as a country. We must show signs of being serious, being responsive, and being responsible as well.
All right, and talking about investment, because when talking about investment too, if you want investors to come in, you should also ensure that there is security in that very country. And that's why we're going to this very security, because in Katsina State, of course, the death toll from Katsina Mosque terror has risen to 32. Initially, the death toll was put at 13, but from Wednesday, that's from yesterday, it's been confirmed that 32 persons were killed. Now, guess the way they were killed. We have talked about this issue of self-defense. People should arm themselves. People should mobilize themselves and then get to defend when these very terrorists come. And the people of a certain community in Katsina State, they decided to take their destinies into their own hands, because they organized themselves to confront these very bandits when they came. And from reports we gathered, they were able to kill some of the bandits. They were able to recover some of the motorcycles they came with, and they were even able to rescue some of the persons they have abducted. But guess what? These guys remobilized and came for reprisal. So when the night came for reprisal, it happened. They went to a certain mosque where people are worshiping early in the morning. A mosque in Ungungwan Mantau, which is in Malumfashi, local government area of Katsina State, where they entered and killed people. Like I said initially the death toll was put at about 13, but now it's been confirmed that 32 persons were killed in that very incident. Yesterday, of course, the government of the state went on a condolence to that very community. Government delegation was there, and government was even able to confirm that actually 32 people lost their lives in that very incident. Now, the question is, insecurity has been a perpetual thing in Nigeria. If you talk about the north, talk about the south, nowhere is spared. I will be thinking about how do we get to reign on insecurity in the country. several proposals have been made. Some persons will tell you government has to rise to the occasion. Some person will tell you it should be, if we are to adopt state policing is going to be the solution. So we'll tell you, okay, why don't you arm the people so that they can defend themselves? So in this very case where people decided to try and reprisal, it brings the question of vulnerability. When people decide to help themselves and government cannot give them reinforcement, what becomes their fate, Tony?
This is a sign of government insensitivity to the plight of the people. And I have always maintained that successive governments, they have been failing on that area, on the area of insecurity. And I've always said there has never been sincerity of purpose. Insecurity, we should detach it from politics. We must detach it from politics and face it squarely. There have been proposals, offers from different countries to help us deal with this issue, and we keep claiming that we can deal with it. The answer remains that we have not shown any sign or evidence that we can deal with this. And from the look of things, look at what happened in Katsina State. We are told that the death toll is about 32. These are people, community people. They grouped themselves. They went after these criminals, these bandits, these terrorists, only for them to become vulnerable later, because these people went back, regrouped, reinforced, and came with reprisal. And now all we can say is we are sorry. You can't keep being sorry. And one thing, if you cannot provide security as a government, is a sign of the government failing anywhere, anytime, any place. And people have called for state police. And at a point there was this abracadabra. It was going to happen, it was not going to happen, and it never happened as we speak today. Why has it not happened? Politics. Because they must have mirror or it's really political implication, how it can help win election or lose election, and they'll put it at a hold. What have we done, even this present government? I'm not going to talk about the past government because the past government is gone. What has this present government or different governments at different levels, what have they done in the area of security, providing security for the people? What have they done? We have got so much money plugging in that area. Are we seeing the results? It is in this country we are told that sometimes citizens pay levy to arm bandits to avoid attacks or to even avoid kidnappings. There are places they pay levy for them to access their farmland. They pay money to access farmland. In Zamfara State, even in Borno State, where we are told that there have been forced payments to avoid some of these things. Are you going to talk about Kaduna State? Where so many rural communities there have faced demands from bandits for payments to avoid rapes or kidnappings. It's so in Plateau State. In most places in the northwest and northeast regions and some part of north central regions. The question is, some of these governors are sitting top. They will tell you we have signed the memorandum where the issue of state police is being discussed, that we have submitted our papers, we have done this. What have you done as a state governor? What have you done as a president? What have you done as members of the National Assembly? Because these members of the National Assembly, they represent constituencies. They represent senatorial districts. What are they doing in the areas of motion, legislations, and so many of these things? So you find out that government seems to abandon the primary responsibility, and they seems to be facing shadow. There are people that will tell you, what is the essence of being in TCAD if we cannot provide security for the people? There are people that will have such questions, and no matter how you look at the question, it's germane. It is obvious that we cannot protect ourselves. And now you raise an important information. There are people that said, if you cannot protect us, make laws so that Nigerians can arm themselves and also defend themselves. But it could also be through process of legislation. And what are the National Assembly doing about that? Have they had a robust section on this issue of insecurity apart from going into closed section? Most times when things like this do happen, next we hear is that they have gone into closed section where nobody knows what they're talking about.
Definitely, Tony. You talk about being reactive as against proactive with insecurity. But I'm also curious to find out if we had ever, since this entire thing started, made, would I call it, judicious efforts to address the root cause of insecurity in places like Katsina and, of course, the north generally and in other parts of the country. We seem to understand the history of these insecurity, would I call it outbreaks in different parts of the country. But the history would always take us back to the root. Have we made policies that address the root cause?
For me, that has not happened. We have different causes to this insecurity, and we know that for sure. We know we have the economic aspect, inequality aspect. We also have failure of leadership aspect. And in fact, if you look at all those things, all of them boils down to failure of leadership. And at the same time, taking responsibilities. Most of these places very undeveloped. You have a teeming youth, a kind of a population that can help man a lot of things. Most of these countries in the world, if they've got the kind of population we have, do you know where we are supposed to be? We are not measuring that. It is still very bizarre that our country, at the end of the day, our entire revenue, the collectible revenues, stands at about $30 billion. And I've said and I've decried such poor revenue, and it cannot engender development. Our revenue should be running around $200 billion, which will foster development. And some of the loans collected by the government, where are these loans plowed into? Where are these loans? Have they in any way simulate development, growth as expected? And if you look at issue of corruption, how have you? Because if you look around, some of these bandits will tell you all these politicians that are corrupt. Many of them that are there, they are not doing anything. Look at the facts, whatever they get home with, and then they are doing their own business. And many times, if you speak, they will equate what they are doing with what politicians are doing. They will tell you that they are doing their own on the other angle. They are doing their own on the other angle. How do you explain all these circumstances? We have been boxed in a line. And then some people will tell you, is this country big for everybody? If we can introduce regional government, where the regions take each of security from the federal government, provide, and the federal government protects the territorial integrity of the country. These things are part of the suggestions being given by different peoples for different times. If we are so big, and I've always believed that issue of security cannot be something the federal government can do alone. Why can't you release the burden to subnationals? So if we have regional government, we can also have that. The six geopolitical zones we have, can we amend our constitutions and recognize them and give them some roles, give them some functions, let them operate, and ensure that this country is protected? We will not have it so bad. Is a concern. And in all of these suggestions, formulations, and ideas, it seems that government is not taking any of them.
Okay, so let's go to PDP. 2027 showdown. Wike Makinde threatens high-stake PDP convention. We mentioned that, I think that should be yesterday, that Wike is saying something else. But I just want us to look at what Wike is asking. You know, what he's saying is still the bone of contention. We know that Wike was on TV where he said that he wasn't invited for the NEC meeting that was held. The PDP has shown evidence that he was invited, and even his office acknowledged receipt of the invitation, so that whatever he was saying was his own, kettle of fish. Now, but let's look at what Wike is saying. He is saying that the crisis in the party seems to be over now, if PDP wants it to be over. But if PDP fails to accede to what he's demanding, of course, there could be another round of crisis. Now, look at this. Now, he is saying that for the fact that the PDP has continued to recognize Ali Odefa as National Vice Chairman Southeast, that is not going to work. And also the fact that PDP has refused to recognize the South caretaker, has continued to, or rather has failed to recognize Dan Obe as the chairman of PDP in the South, that there will be no peace. I just want to take a quotation from what he said. He said, well, it's over for now. There are a few things remaining, and I have told them that they must do it. Let's take the word that they must do it. Our Congress was held in Calabar, and there's nothing anybody can tell us. If they want to have another round of crisis, so be it. In that Congress, Chief Dan Obi emerged as the National Vice Chairman. They never wanted the Congress to hold, but Congress was held. And he said the so-called acting national chairman of the party wrote a letter to INEC after Congress was held that the Congress has been postponed. There is no two ways about it. The national vice chairman of PDP South is Chief Dan Obi. If they don't agree, that is another round of crisis. Now, he also argued that the party must deal with its Southeast Zonal Chairman, Ali Odefa, who had been sacked from the party by an order of a court of competent jurisdiction. Now, irrespective of whatever opinion we have about the minister, Nyesom Wike, could you say that he is fighting for justice?
He's a man on a mission. There's no justice in what he's fighting. He's fighting for his principle, and the people he was asking that they be recognized are the people that would help him to make the delivery process so easy. Ali Odefa elected, but he wants someone else. Dan Obi, he wants someone else. He has won on the case of Sam Anyanwu with a PDP considered to him, and then say, okay, Sam Anyanwu has become the national secretary as against Udo Koye. And then most of his demand, he keeps making demand. His demands do not end. His demands have no end. Once this one is considered, he will make another demand. The only point remains that he wants PDP to be destabilized prior to the election, and where many of them in that very party will work for Mr. President. He has made it open. He has shown the handwritings on the wall. There's no doubt about it. So for PDP to be doing this hobnobbing, this romance with Wike, it shows where PDP belongs to. There's no doubt. So this alleged rift between him and Makinde, for me, it is for the optics. There is no rift. They have one purpose, and that purpose is to deliver Mr. President. But they are now looking at who will be the anchor person, who will be the leader of such process. So what they are debating is merely who is going to lead what they have a common pact with. Who is going to lead it? And Wike wants to lead it. Makinde says, no, I'm a sitting governor. I want to lead it. And Wike says, I want to lead it. No, it can't work that way. So it's something Mr. President can call both of them and settle for them. So it's not something that many would get themselves worried. We know where PDP is today. So I'm so concerned that these things are part of the game. You know, when you distract the people, bring controversy. One thing about controversy is this. Controversy makes anything to be more engaged. Once you put or you bring controversy in anything, people will be more engaged, people will be more entertained, people will react more, people will focus on that more, people would also want to know more about that. So controversy drives conversation, controversy drives reactions, controversy drives, and when you are reacting, you are losing the main thing. You are refocusing your mind to something that is even a shadow. So it is part of the game plan, and for them, it's working for them so far.
Has the PDP addressed the issue that he raised? Because we know that there was a point in time that Wike was angling for a Congress for the South PDP. At a point in time, they even went to court, and the PDP said they were not going to go on with that. And Wike said we must do our thing, and they went ahead where Danobi was elected. And PDP said we can't recognize it because we don't sanction it. But the case of Ali Odefa has been there. If it even went to court, it was reported that court sacked him, and some other person was even brought in as a leader of the PDP in the Southeast. That was even how Sondudo Koye came into the picture and the likes. And it appears that that issue has not been resolved, and that could be the reason why Wike is trying to lay his hands on something, to hold the PDP at the truth.
The issue in view, I don't want to go into these minor things because these things are shadow, but I must let you know that the court has said that as a political party, you are entitled to decide who becomes what. Court does not put or give position. That's the Supreme Court ruling. That's Supreme Court ruling that the political parties decide who becomes who. So if the PDP during their NEC meeting decided that it's going to be Ali Odefa, has it not been resolved? So he asks, who is Wike? Is he a member of NWC, the National Working Committee of the party? Who is it to tell the PDP you can't do this? Just a member, or probably somebody who is a member of the NEC for the fact that he was once a governor. So can somebody says no when others are saying yes? This is a part of the plot. They are game plan. They are designed. They are scripted, well orchestrated for a common thing.
If Ali Odefa was suspended by his word, because if we are trying to trace back to how this thing started,
Yes.
you go back to about actually October 4, 2024, when his ward in Onitsha local government area of Ebonyi State suspended Ali Odefa, and later they expelled him for alleged anti-party activities. And we know that there were disciplinary actions that were instituted against him, And those actions were upheld by Federal High Court in Abakaliki, with Justice Hillary affirming his expulsion. That was in February 2025. And the court now went ahead to issue an injunction prohibiting Odefa from presenting himself as a member of PDP or as the Southeast National Vice Chairman, and at the same time restraining both the party and INEC from recognizing him. Now, if this is the case, can we give Wike some credit?
You asked if this is the case. Remember that he even also add if the case gets to appeal court, you stop at the Federal High Court. And remember, the Supreme Court has maintained that some of these courts, you have no jurisdiction on these issues of leadership positions within the party. You have no jurisdiction. And it's the party that decides who becomes who. If the ward suspends a member based on their ruling, if it is sustained at the national level, when the member remains suspended.
So, Tony, why do they keep going to court? If for every time they go to court, they are sent back to resolve their matters internally?
That's to tell you that.
Why are they wasting judicial time?
That is to tell you that most of them who are doing this, they have reasons. They are doing it for their own interest, political interests. The Supreme Court has maintained over time that these issues is a family matter. Now, don't bring it to us.
Can we call Ali Odefa a national officer of PDP? If he is, can the ward suspend him?
Now, you asked a very important question. Can Ali Odefa be called a national officer of the party? He can only be called a national officer of the party if the NWC says so, backed by the NEC, the second highest decision-making body of the party. If the National Working Committee says, oh, we want to still recognize Ali Odefa as this, as that, and there was a NEC meeting, which is the second highest decision-making outside the National Congress, says, yes, we are supporting him, it's settled. These things are shadow for crying out loud. These things are mere window dressing, a way to distract, to pursue the main issue. We've understood their game plans. Samuel Anyanwu was appeal court, not declared that he is not the national secretary based on his role. But the Supreme Court says, leave the matter for them. They should decide among themselves. That's what the Supreme Court says. And the PDP also considered that on Wike, even when appeal court said that Samuel Anyanwu is backing, cannot be the national secretary. Supreme Court says, every of this issue, judiciary, stay away. Each time they bring these things to you, refer them back, let them go and settle it among themselves. That's the position of the court.
All right, so we'll take it from there. Once we come back from this very commercial break, of course, we have to take your calls. Don't forget, you can go to our Facebook page and drop your comments. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Quality bread, Wendy's bread, for your family breakfast. Wendy's bread, I'll pack it on the Tosialo. Wendy's bread, Mama, Papa, they like Wendy's bread, that you turn and do. Wendy's bread, even children, they like Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, Wendy's bread, get it better, tasty, we go sweet your belly. Wendy's bread, Wendy's your body. Wendy's bread,
Wendy's bread, your tasty bread. You can contact us on our official address, Second Business Park, Enugu Road, GRA, beside Onitsha, Anambra State. We also have another branch at St. Michael Plaza at Tani Road. Also contact us on 070-1149-1571. Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
right. Thank you for staying tuned to the Radio 104.7 FM. You are listening to the Polity. My name is Franklin and Chisom. We have to go to the phone lines now. Let's get to hear you. What is your take on the issues we have raised this very morning? 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Let's get to hear your take this morning. Hello. Hello, good morning. Okay, try again. Let's see if we are going to have a better connection. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It's me, Jide. Can you hear me?
Yes, go on. Your name, sir?
Okay, it's me, Jide. Calling from before.
Go on, sir.
Let me start with the, what is it called? The one Mr. President to outside the country to get involvement with the with this support. So I don't know. But the thing is that there's no government that will help insecurity. The insecurity is continuing too much. Nobody can face this. I wonder what our politicians are. Does it mean that this people doesn't think? Does it mean that they don't know that the people who are trying to invest here are getting news about this country? What can they face the country security-wise? I know that we are good in farming, but when it comes to insecurity, we are zero, and nobody will try to invest in a country where there is no security. That's number one. Number two, about BDP and Wike, honestly, Wike has finished BDP. There's nothing, they don't have any boss again. There's no boss in the PDP again. Wike has finished them. And Wike, I don't want to say, I believe everything you see this morning, Wike is on a mission. Yeah, he's on a mission to deliver president, and it's very unfortunate. This is not politics. This is dirty. It's dirty politics. How can you be in a party and fight for another party? Not good at all. You understand? That's the reason why, as a matter of fact, people are trying to influence other parties against Mr. Pidovi, because you don't want Mr. Pidovi to come into government in this country. You don't want him at all, because you know that whenever he comes here, he's going to sanitize this place. That's my conclusion this week. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining us this very morning. And let's see who we have next here. Hello, good morning. Okay, 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Hello, good morning. Okay, try again. And also on our Facebook page, you can just get there and drop your comments. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, your name?
This is Akameron.
Go on, Akameron.
Akamele is calling from Figi.
Go on.
I want to appreciate you guys. You guys are doing a marvelous work. We appreciate every one of you. So I just want to talk on what happened at that mosque, where many souls were wasted. You know, my speaker has already explained what happened. That these people, they mobilized themselves and decided to go against these bandits. Later, these bandits later came back and destroyed them. You know, this has been for those who are calling for self-defense. Then when you try to defend yourself or go and we go to fight this banditry, what will happen when you are on your own without security? Because you discover that those people may come back and destroy and kill the people that have decided to defend themselves. So that is the thing. You know, the government needs to come out and protect the people, not self-defense. Because if you defend yourself, most of if the attackers come back again to attack you. So and also I want to talk on this what happened at Oba. Please, I not only to suspend those vigilantes, but also to persecute them. And they don't need to hide these things. Let them come out and show us, tell us what happened. This one shouldn't be the one tomorrow you will not see anything again. Let them just tell us exactly what happened so that we know that the government is serious on what they are doing.
All right.
I want to thank you, my brother. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling. Hello, good morning.
Franklin and Dr. Olisa Mbeki, good morning.
You're welcome.
I'm bringing you from Onitsha.
Go on.
Going straight to my submission, I want to ask a question first. We are in an electioneering era in Anambra State, and the voice note from the State Assembly member representing Melon. I'm only concerned about one exposing his fortunes and wealth and how he has made it in life, which is also very risky and exposing other members to risk. Nigeria, we know what insecurities have overwhelmed the country, not just Anambra State alone, but the entire country. So I doubt the voice note, but you see, I'm not holding brief for the member representing that constituency. I'm only concerned about he exposing and endangering other people. So I think thorough investigation needs to be made, because kidnappers, they work hand in hand with anybody they can lay hands on. So he trying to say he's the richest with 10 million and stuff. I don't really understand that. He shared it, just like the speaker pointed out. But one thing I want to say is that in a democratic setting, assuming this member House of Reps went to the media and begin to promote the constituency, that they have done well, they have brought this to the constituency, they have brought that to the constituency. With this assembly, summon him for questioning and interrogation or whatever they deem it fit. I think one thing, if we want our democracy to grow in this country, we must have a fair hearing to all parties. If you have come out to say this, why can't we investigate to know whether they are being marginalized? That should be the truth here. Whether he did this or did that on the social media, I don't know their ethics, whichever way they operate. I still know that just one weekend, time with our member comes on the air and say all manner of things that you can't even comprehend. So I think this member, what the State Assembly need to do is to actually investigate, are this region being marginalized? Because they're part of Anambra State, and not the other way around. Now, coming to the Udogachi or the Agone chamber that molested the poor court member, let me also follow suit to commend whoever that took the video, because he did a very wonderful job there. Not unlike the one that did the one of Emerson, exposing everything, and the girl today is being traumatized with the family. So I think the basic thing here is that who employed these men that did this dastardly act against the poor? Are they trained in the home at all? Who is the person that trained them or recruited them should be held responsible? Because these are not behaving like humans. The actions and inactions there is something that, and our women, right. I'm seriously disappointed at women in Nigeria, not just only Anambra State. It happened to Natasha, nothing was said about it. It happened to the NDDC president or chairman, nothing was said about it. It kept on going on and on, and look at them, and the women are keeping calm.
All right, DK,
if it was
that'll be all.
Jonathan, you see the lives of your obvious request, all these civil liberties, blah blah. They just jump the street.
All right, DK, that'll be also that will be able to accommodate others for them to have their inputs. Thank you for understanding.
Hello, good morning, Mother Speaker.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, you're welcome.
Good morning, Chisom. My name is Honorable George. Let me start to appreciate the Anambra State government on the way they handle the issue of the Udogachi boys that beat up that young lady, that copper. I will appreciate them, but what I will try to say is that for we not to have this kind of situation again in our hands, there must know the kind of people that are employing into all this, because this is one of the major problems that people are being afraid of this state police. So we have been having this kind of situation within our own borders. So these people that stand the Udogachi, they are not foreigners. And I believe that you go to that place, it was very hard for you to see a Hausa man or a Yoruba man. So almost it's just the Igbo people that are out there. Because sometimes we say that crime is local, that we want our people, we want the police, people that will understand what is going on. But if you see the kind of thing that is going on, because the other time I went to Atashina, I will know what exactly that we experience where we are going and when we are coming back with this Udogachi boys. They will come into the barrier and telling you people that if people will give them this for security reason and the rest of them. But the barrier was directed to my friend direct. So I know everything that happened on that. So we need conversation based on the activity of this because it's an eyesore. And I want Anambra State government to come out and tell us the charge that this guy they are going to face in the court. And how many years jail term they are attached to it. Let them make everything open because if there be even the police protection that sometimes they will come out like there was a one that killed the young man that said market cell phone at Tobogorogo. We understand we follow the activity of that one and know the end of the judgment. Today I believe that the man is no more. So let anybody that is doing anything now in Nigeria, mostly in this kind of situation, let them tell all the charge and tell all the jail terms. So that people will learn from it. You know that the state give you gun, that means that they give you all the power to abuse people, to disgrace people to that extent. They are telling them that nothing will happen, that nobody will do anything.
Okay,
so
dear friend.
Because looking at the parents of the young girl, you know that I don't see there are people that have that financial muscle to fight up with this case. So I want another government to give the family all support that they needed to execute this case and let us see the result at the end of the day.
All right, thank you. I think police is already on the case, so it's no longer about the family because from what we gathered from government, that family said, okay, let's shoot the sword, let's bury the hatchet. But government said we need to see that this is brought to a logical conclusion. So I don't think the family is going to spend any money on that. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, okay. Your name?
My name is Mr. Fred. I'm calling from Asaba.
Okay. Can you do us this very favor by walking away from where you already said is so that we can have good conversation?
All right. I just do this now.
All right, go on, sir.
The issue of Udogashi, I don't listen very well and I saw some of the clips on the internet. The truth is that I love what they are doing, but it's just that some of the workers there maybe are not properly trained. So what I would suggest or what I feel that will be okay is that let them start recruiting educated ones. I think I've come in contact with them once. The way they behave, the way they talk so arrogantly, and when you listen to them, they don't have much experience about security. You know, they're overwhelmed with the gun and everything they are having. So I feel that during the recruitment, let qualification, educational background is something they should monitor about. And most of them are stagnant illiterate. They behave anyhow. Their work is good. They are protecting the community and the entire state. But at least let's refine them and remove the bad eggs.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your suggestion. So I think we have to go to our Facebook page. Let's see what we have happening there. Chisom, I don't know if you're ready for us to get to that very page. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
My name is Mercy.
Mercy. In fact.
Mercy.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
How I wish I had a bell here. I would have done that. I would have rung it for you because a woman calling us. Quite impressive. Go on.
Hope you are not making up in the studio right now.
We can barely hear what you're saying.
Just go on.
I hope you are not in the studio. You are not in the studio. You need to make inquiries.
Okay, you can actually send us a message on Facebook. Just go to our DM on Facebook if you want to make inquiries, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should go on and take other calls.
Right,
or do we go to Facebook now?
Of course, we are going to go. But let me say this. If you call the lines we've been mentioning, they are studio lines. So they are in the studio. So if you call that line, you are going to get hooked up to the studio. If you want to have another interaction outside the studio, of course, you can easily check us on our Facebook, send us WhatsApp message, any of our social media platform. You can use that. In fact, if you even go to some of the social media platform, you see our phone lines you can call to get across to us. So let's go to our Facebook page.
Aisha Abdul Wahab, please desist from sending those stuff you send on our page. I'm going to go to Maole Bara's page. Comment rather. What a wasteful leadership that is uncontrollably squandering all the resources God blessed us with. $10 billion for food import when we have arable lands and farmers. If this humongous amount of investment is made in agriculture, we will be talking of food security. These leaders have failed us. It's worrisome and unfortunate. All right, Gochuku Frank. Stripping a lady naked is considered indecent assault or an act of gross indecency under Nigerian law. This violates the victim's dignity and can be prosecuted under Section 360 of the Criminal Code, which addresses indecent assault in females with a penalty up to 3 years. We hope that they are giving that. We are going to keep following up on this matter, not just because it happened and because we're media outlet, but because we're very much interested in how women are treated. Emmanuel Chiadi, he says the rampant insecurity and criminality in our nation starkly reveal the ruling elite's lack of patriotism and nationalism. Partisan interests have eroded the social contract, paving the way for potential upheaval. Reform or restructuring towards federal structure is crucial to restore trust, stability, and sustainability. Odinake Gono, shout out to you. Good morning to Eke Ganas Madueke says, discharging those security operatives of their duty is good, and the governor should also review the offices of all security outfits cards, because we still have more ongoing behind the scenes. Awesome. Norbert Uche, he says, as for the House of Assembly member from Ayamelum, they kept quiet when our professor governor said it with loudspeaker that any community that did not vote for his party, there will be no project for them. I'm also happy that Tony has... Okay, interesting. That's quite an interesting perspective, but it's all good. Uzo Mechime Chukura, we are fighting a war in Nigeria. However, the government has not been able to come out in all honesty to tell us who the country is at war with. Today we are surrounded by elements that we give a blanket name. I'm not going to use that, I am sorry. Do we know who they are and what they are in our environment? We are in a state of emergency. Maziwari Chikwara says, I have nothing much to say this morning, other than joining the masses to cry out for justice concerning the issue of the youth corps member. Good morning.
Okay, so Totoni, I asked a question regarding, the power of the word to suspend Aliodefa. And let me just read out this before we get to wrap up. If you look at the PDP constitution, it talks about ward membership base, and it says that every PDP member belongs to first and foremost to a ward. And then when it comes to disciplinary action, it begins at the ward level, since that is the foundational unit of the party. And now look at the powers of discipline. They said the ward executive committee can query, suspend or recommend the expulsion of a member for anti-party activities or misconduct. But if the member is an officer of higher organs, example, national or zonal, the ward's decision must be ratified by higher party organs like the state, zonal, or NEC. Now, the person who is being suspended, of course, or being expelled, of course, has a right of appeal, and any member disciplined by the ward has a right to appeal up to the hierarchy. That's a process or sequence from ward to local government to state to zonal and then to national executive committee, that's the NEC. Then so until the final appeals are, or rather until the appeals are exhausted, the matter is not final. So in this very case, we can say that Wike scored 0.
Very well. Remember in January 2025, the PDP National Working Committee ruled out that the ward suspension and expulsion were null and void. In fact, it emphasized that only the NWC or NEC has the authority to discipline or remove a national vice chairman, according to the party constitution, which you have just read out. So I've said many times that what Wike is doing is window dressing. This is more like a small screen, and he knows what he's doing. He's on a mission just to destabilize the party, and he has done that, and he wants more destabilization, and they can feel it and they can see it. So forget all these things going on. Even by the PDP constitution, just like you pointed out earlier on, I said it earlier on, he has no point, he has no base, but he wants to be pushing some of this narration for the mission which he has been asked to deliver. Well scripted, well written, well orchestrated. He is quite on it, and that is what is going on.
All right, so we're wrapping up. Chisom?
From my end, I am still going to be calling for the government to make sure that they keep us updated on the case of these men who assaulted that ECOM member. We are hoping that this is supposed to serve as a deterrent to some of these security officials, so we don't have more incidents of similar things happening. We also hope that there is going to be a sort of a training and what I call it, sort of makeover work done in that system. When you see these people move, you'd know that we have a big problem as long as they are concerned.
Okay, so and that will be all for today. And we thank every one of you for joining today's conversation. Tomorrow is Friday, of course. We're going to be here again to bring you a fresh edition of this very program. Stay tuned for the continuation of our programs today. Of course, by 11, we're going to bring you tunes from 11 to 12. And then by 12, we'll bring you news at noon. And after news at noon, it's going to be Gobe with Hassa Malova. And then down to 2 p.m. when we're going to listen to Akukwa call before we get to bring you Dockerador. All right, stay with us. My name is Franklin Ebuka, and good morning.